Do you wish you knew exactly how to write a sales post to attract soulmate clients using the most powerful gifts from your astrology chart? Well, guess what? Now you can learn how for free. I'm going to share my cosmic copywriting secrets that have helped people to instantly turn strangers on the internet into buyers for their high-ticket offers. In my 5-part training series, Cosmic Attraction Copywriting, you'll learn the mindset switch that takes my clients from feeling confused about their content or not feeling fully safe to share their story online to making sales more easily and naturally than ever before, with the astrological placement that unlocks a new level of depth in your storytelling that builds trust 10 times faster with the clients who are genuinely a very aligned fit to work with you. Plus, the messaging tweaks that take my clients from attracting people who can't afford it to easy sales into 5-figure offers with no sales calls. And you'll get clarity on the 3 things your soulmate clients need to hear from you consistently in your message to feel confident and excited to buy your offer. You'll also get my writing process prompts to share your story in a powerful way that stands out to the right people and leads to ready to buy clients popping up into your DMs asking to work with you. Click the link in the description for instant access to Cosmic Attraction Copywriting. This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a 6-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Creative Magic Club podcast, and I'm so excited to introduce my special guest today. We have with us Simone Patricia, who is a coach who helps mums to align with inner and outer wealth by building a practical and energetic toolkit in money mindset, money management, and entrepreneurship to override the mother-martyr archetype and to see motherhood as a catalyst into your most empowered and abundant self. Hi Simone, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be here, and I honestly can't wait to get in.
Yeah, and obviously I invited Simone on because she's equally obsessed with astrology, and she also brings human design into her work as well. So yeah, let's dive into it. But first, I want to hear your story. Like, how did you end up doing this work that you do today?
Oh, that's a big story. So essentially, there's like 2 parts. There are multiple parts, but essentially I was in a career or in a job specifically that I really didn't like. I was working as a nurse at night, and I was miserable. I spent all this time building what I thought would be the career for the rest of my life, and I would literally cry before my shifts. And I was just really anxious, really kind of mildly depressed. And I thought to myself, I'm like, this is not it, and there has to be more to life than this. I don't think this is what I came here to do. And so fast forward, I left that job. I took time off to figure my shit out, a lack of better words. I hope you guys are okay with cuss words.
I'm okay with however you want to express yourself.
Cool. So to figure my stuff out and to start what I didn't realize at the time was the beginning of my business today. So I started off with a blog, which was called The Alchemist's Moon, and I was focusing on self-development. And essentially what I realized is that the value that I and others had isn't necessarily something that needed to be outsourced. I thought that the only way that I could contribute to those around me was to get a degree, and that I didn't have any value or any gifts that I could contribute before. So really low self-worth. But it was after I started awakening and delving into self-development and into my intuition and meditation and astrology and human design where I really did understand and finally come to accept. I don't think it's about understanding because your soul knows. It's just like I feel like those tools like astrology and human design, it gives you that key and that go ahead. It like reflects you like a mirror and you're able to see yourself. I feel like outside and have that reflected back to you by the universe. And you're just like, oh yeah, like there I am. And so when I remembered who I was and what I wanted to do, it gave me permission to really take my passions, which were helping people live their own purpose and accept themselves and realize that they are their own key to success. They are the success. And that aligning with that, once you do that, I feel like everything opens up. Not to say that there isn't a journey that happens with that, because there's so much like unlearning, or not unlearning, it's really reprogramming and healing and shedding that has to occur in order to allow yourself to feel safe in your truth and in your authenticity. But yeah, so that's where that happened. I started the blog, started the podcast, got into music too. Like it's very big, but then I had my son. And essentially what happened was I always expected the six-figure business before the baby. And that did not happen. It was baby first. And it shook me to my core. And I was just like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And it was this massive portal into myself. And from my birth to my pregnancy, I've always known that women and mothers were magic, but actually embodying that, you remember that you are God. You remember that you are literally the divine incarnate, and that you are a channel and a portal for spirit to move through you into flesh, into life. And I realized that the way that mothers have those codes within them, which is why my podcast is called the Creatrix Codes, the way that you can tap into those codes without even knowing. So, like for the first 7 weeks, I didn't even know I was pregnant. And yet, this being was still being created through me. He had a heart that was pumping. He had a brain that was developing. He had organs and limbs. And I wasn't controlling anything. And that like touches into a whole other thing, which is like, you don't need to control shit. You need to surrender. And so it's just like surrendering to allowing life and the universe to flow through you is one of the most powerful ways. And the best way we could do that is to really allow ourselves to align with our truth and to who we truly are and who we feel called to be. And they're one and the same. And that's a journey too. But essentially through my motherhood journey, I realized that it is a catalyst back into yourself. People say you lose yourself, you find yourself. You lose the parts of you that you no longer need and that aren't serving you anymore. But it's you coming back to you and to who you're always here to be. And your children, it's a sacred contract. Like you guys choose each other. So you are the perfect parent for your kid. And it's just this beautiful, magical relationship. But I've never felt more empowered, more real in all the growth through compassion, through love, through holding space, through expansion that motherhood and pregnancy called of me, that you can say yes or no to. So the more you resist, the more you're going to struggle and feel like this is awful. The more you surrender, it's still challenging, but that is when that new life, that rebirth, that manifestation pours and flows through you, just like with birth. It's just like you have to surrender. You can't fight the contractions. The contractions are there to serve you, and they are pushing you and your baby along into this new life. And so when you can do the same thing with your shadows and with your fears, and you can just dive right into it, that is when we come alive. That is when that new birth comes through. That is when we manifest. And so that is really what I help people do with my work.
And just so everybody knows, we are learning right now from a Pisces sun and a Pisces rising. So I feel like, this is your lesson. Like this is your sermon on the mount, it's like really the power of surrendering to the boundlessness of our humanity and being able to connect with the beyond and the divine and to be a channel for that. And it was so beautiful the way that you put that, as motherhood has so much to give you when you're able to surrender to that, because obviously it comes with many challenges. And I know that also, interestingly, with your North Node in Virgo, which is kind of, it's like the polar opposite of Pisces, with that tendency to want to control more, which is, the energy that you're moving into more in this lifetime. But this, with your South Node in Pisces, like this is something that you came in with, this ability to trust and to be able to really, yeah, surrender into your universal magic and power that just lives with you and every cell of your body. So yeah, I'm really curious to hear more from you, particularly around the conversation of, the letting go of the old parts of you, because that sounds like the most challenging part. Do you have any stories around like specific patterns or pieces of your identity that you really came up to having that conversation with yourself of, oh, this is challenging, but like I can see that it's just an opportunity for me to let go of this to be able to welcome in something even bigger and better? The Cosmic Copy Mastermind is the place to get the support that will bring your dream of becoming a six-figure creative to life in 2025 by selling your high-ticket offers with sales copy driven by stories and guided by astrology. Your goal is to fill your high-ticket offer with dreamy soul clients. But right now, you're wondering what exactly needs to shift in your content to start seeing consistent sales month after month, right? You're posting consistently, and maybe you're even getting great engagement, but you can't quite figure out why people aren't lining up to buy your life-changing offer. You know your work is incredible. Maybe you're even getting a ton of referral clients, but when it comes to putting your unique magic into words that clearly paint the picture of what it's actually like to work with you, it feels complicated. Or maybe you keep getting in your head about your high-ticket prices and thinking that that's the problem. Well, let me tell you, it's not your price. You're not alone in this. It's not easy to put your magic into clear copy that converts when you try to do it alone. I've made multiple six figures in my business, and I've written copy for more than 1,000 entrepreneurs, and I continually invest in mentorship around messaging. Why? Because it makes it easier to consistently create content that leads to sales every month. That's why I created this mastermind, where we'll use your astrology chart to remind you of your unique genius, gifts, and personal story, using personalized prompts with my hands-on support and edits to translate all your magic into content that's building your six-figure brand in a way that feels authentic, aligned, and so much fun. This is my magic, helping you to attract deeply compatible clients through authentic storytelling driven by your unique astrology, and doing it in an inspiring community of other creative entrepreneurs making big moves, living life to the full, and building your version of a six-figure dream business. Message me the word mastermind on Instagram at SarahMacMagic for the full details.
Yes. So first with my career and even with like the work I do now, originally it was focused primarily on mindset and reprogramming limiting beliefs and emotional regulation and such. So like I have a strong, like with that Pisces South node and like Pisces rising, Pisces sun, like and Pisces Jupiter. I have a lot of like that's pretty natural for me. And at the same time, I felt in this life when I would stay too much in that space, it almost felt like, yes, like this is serving me, but without a ground, it felt like I was kind of like either drowning or floating, for lack of better words. But when I could channel that, and so it felt like in this life, like even before I got into astrology and everything, it really felt like my purpose was to be a vessel for like from ether to earth, and to help allow people to reconnect and understand that within themselves, and that this is not just isolated to me. Like I guess those codes are conscious for me, but at the same time, like this is available and present within everybody. We are all like manifestations of like spirit come to earth, spirit and flesh. And so when it comes to shedding identities, realizing one that I had value to contribute by just being myself. Um, with motherhood in particular, I think I had a lot of people pleasing tendencies before being a mom, people pleasing tendencies before stepping into entrepreneurship. And I never realized how much I was hiding and holding back, out of fear of intimidating people, out of fear of being too bright, too loud, too much. But when I became a mom and when I found out I was becoming a mom, I didn't have space for any of that. Like I really didn't care. I was just like that's cool, but I have this new life that I'm moving forward into. I have a baby that I get to show up for, and I am not allowing the things that I allowed to hold me back for that long to affect him. Because like you have such an intimate relationship with your child, and it's not just what you do or what you say, it's who you are. Everything you are is modeling what life can be. and like what life is and how we relate to ourselves and how we relate to others. And so knowing all of that, having all of that conscious awareness of like mindset and nervous system regulation and programming and like all of that, like all of neuroplasticity, all of that stuff, knowing how impactful and influential it was, especially from the ages 0 to 7, 0 to 3, I was like, I get the opportunity to show up for this the best I can and to really shed what I no longer have space for if I want to be and show up as the mom that I want to be. And if I want to show up as the person that I feel called to be in my life, it's just like, I feel like I guess I valued my time differently in my own experience. Like, it was one thing if I was suffering, but if my kid's suffering. And I think that's the thing about motherhood too. It elicits and pulls a strength and a resilience out of you that you didn't know. Like, it really, or at least for me, it pulled out a fight and like an aggression. I was like, no. And so I got to have way stronger boundaries. I trusted my instincts more. I trusted myself. I trusted my value. All the stuff that I was dismissing beforehand. I was just like, what am I waiting for? What am I wasting my time for? Who do I really want to be? What do I want to model for my son? How do we talk to ourselves? How do we think about ourselves? What do we do? Do we pursue our dreams? So when I found out that I was having my son, part of me was just like, oh, like, do I put this on the back burner, this business and yada, yada, yada? And I was like, no. And even this, like what you see behind me, this is my van. I was manifesting and building this for a while before I even had my son. And part of me was like, do I stop doing this? Like, what do we do? And I decided that I'm just like, no, my son chose me. So he's going to get me as a mom and what is important to me and who I want to be and what I feel like I'm here to contribute. And so again, self-acceptance, boundaries. So I think like motherhood was really one of those greatest initiations. And I think more like looking back, I do believe like in astrology, that's a whole other thing. Like I feel like having my son, I think that their moon sign represents, yes, the mother, but also their experience during pregnancy while they were in the womb. I also think that with my moon being conjunct my north node, I do believe that, and the moon being the ruler of my fifth house, I do think that having a child, being creative, trusting my instincts, that like instinctual nature, trusting that and really leaning in and setting those boundaries. Like, motherhood really did bring out, I feel like, the most empowered, real version of myself. Learning how to balance that between like the whole, like, Pisces floating, like, oh, like up is down. And like, it just kind of feels like what is happening sometimes. And it's a very watery kind of like, it can be overwhelming not having boundaries. And so when I had my son, I feel like it just naturally pushed me into this space where it's just like, okay, boundaries are like, I cannot not have boundaries. So that helped me. Uh, what else? It also made me very grounded, more practical, learn how to regulate and relate to my emotions differently. Um, it really helped me trust myself. So I think that was one of the biggest initiations. And my birth story is a whole other portal, but I think that's a good start.
I would love to hear your birth story, but maybe another time. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I love this conversation of self-trust. And it's interesting. Like, I'm not a mother yet, but I'm kind of in the middle of IVF process. So I'm like entering the portal,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a weird experience because I'm going to be 40 this year, and we've been planning and trying to have a baby for a long time.
Mhm.
And so I've been through like so many different chapters of, relating to motherhood. I feel like, we all do, regardless as to whether or not we end up having children, just being in that conversation of, motherhood. Do we want it? What kind of mother would we want to be? How do we want to be different from the way that we were mothered? And I think it's really interesting because, I've been through doing some research, obviously, with like my fertility journey, and I'm a Virgo rising. So my tendency is to like be the good girl, even though I was, a giant rebel when I was younger and still am in many ways. But especially when it comes to like health and, like doing the right thing, that in integrity with my value system. So looking for all the advice, being like, how can I, be the best, healthiest body to have the best, like healthiest baby? And slowly but surely, discovering like every piece of advice I found, there was always like the direct opposite piece of advice out there for motherhood. It's like, do Pilates every day, don't do Pilates, like lift weights, don't lift weights, like all these like ridiculous, it's just ridiculous, you know. I was like, oh, I'm just like running around in circles here and I don't know who to listen to. And it's kind of, led me back once again to this lesson that you're sharing, which is like, just listen to myself, like obviously there's no one way to do motherhood. Like you said, like our bodies will create a baby regardless as to whether or not we're doing anything about it. Like it's an unconscious thing that we have the capacity to create. And there's just so much magic in that. And I think it's so powerful to relate to our bodies in that way and to know that our bodies are the vessel for everything that we need, for our intuition, for our insights, for our next steps, for radical changes that, might be necessary for us to make, or they might not be, like, and the Virgo rising in me is like, well, I want to have the plan. It's like, there's no plan. There's no blueprint. The only plan is to just keep trusting yourself and to allow your body to do its thing and to guide you. And interestingly, being in that portal, like going into doing my, the IVF and the egg retrieval, like intuitively, I was just really, really drawn to like tuning out absolutely everybody and everything. And like really just very strongly being in my own energy, like not, Claire had doing a big media detox, like not listening to anyone else's perspectives, not listening to podcasts, like not listening to advice or coaching or mentorship, which as a Gemini moon, is my obsession and like a need most of the time to be plugged into something like that. So I think that's so powerful and so interesting for us all to remember is like, yeah, we have this source of infinite wisdom consistently available to us. And our job is to really, like you say, surrender to that, to really show up for that, to trust that, to leverage that. And that I loved what you said about how your son chose you. And in stepping into motherhood, obviously it raises a lot of questions because you do hear people like, oh yeah, it turns your life upside down. You can't do all these things that you did before. But I think when you are living in alignment and you have been listening to yourself, like, I obviously don't know how I'm going to feel after I birth a child, but I know that through all the ups and downs of life, like my desires are my desires. And when we have a desire, it's there for a reason. And yeah, I can see how having a child can just crank up the motivation and the inspiration to like really live out those desires to the fullest. Yeah, I love what you said. Like he chose you. And so he wants you to be fully you. And the more you can be, like the better a mother you will be. So I'm really curious, what are some of the things that come up in conversation with your clients, particularly when it comes to navigating like money and wealth and living in alignment as mothers? Like what are some of the kind of big turning points or questions or challenges that come up in your client conversations?
Well, honestly, like, first of all, this shift in my business, as I said, I'm just like, we just mainly shifted to financial empowerment with motherhood. Because one of the things that would consistently come up when I would speak to mothers is that they would say, oh, I want to do this with my child, but like this costs this much, or I want to do this, but I have to work, or like they don't want to be present with their kid, but I'm just like, I have to get these hours, or their kid was sick and the kid wanted to stay home, but like they would bring them to school anyway because they needed to work. And I'm just like, this is bullshit. Like straight up, like this is bullshit. And so I'm just like, I do believe like what you just said about how your children ramp up, or at least as I said, it's an opportunity. It is an invitation. You accept it or you don't, but it is an initiation. They ramp up your ability and your portal. They open that space for you to step further into your purpose and into your highest self-worth. That much faster, that much sooner. And it's whether or not you are willing to lean into the resistance, lean into your intuition, lean into your instincts. And as I said, it all unlocks, it's all within you, that resilience. Like you can do it. You know how many times, like even with birth, like I do speak whenever I'm like talking to moms, like I can speak about this. I'm just like, this portal. And it's different for everybody. That's the thing. Like there is no one right way to be a mom. There's no one right way to become a mother. Like, for example, my aunt, she was also in IVF. She didn't have her kids, her biological kids. She didn't have her biological kids um, for a long time. but she had 5 children that all chose her, that came to her through adoption. And they are her soul. There's nothing that, like, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
Yeah.
your children come to you in different ways. They don't always come in the same way. And yet there is still that soul contract there. There is still that initiation. So like her initiation came through originally like the fostering system. And like then it was through IVF. And for me, it was through the shock of like my like pregnancy, just being like, whoa, like and so it's just like it comes differently before you're even in the physical space of conceiving and growing this child. Like your life is preparing you. Your spirit baby is there speaking to you. Like I could go into that so much. Like my mind is all over the place. Like what? I'm sorry. What was the first? What was
Yeah,
your
you were
original question?
talking about like how finances became a
Oh,
major theme of your client conversations.
yes, it became a major theme because I felt like it was one of the primary barriers stopping women and mothers in particular from living in alignment with how they were meant to mother, how they were called to trust their instincts, who they came to be, the relationship they wanted to have, the experience their children. Like their children are here to help them accelerate into that, or like it's just a natural byproduct. It's not their job, but I think that's just naturally a part of the contract. Um, and I would constantly hear like, oh, but this costs this, or oh, but I have to work, or oh, but it was just like, it was often the but stopping them. And I do think that there is something to recognizing that, yes, finances definitely have a large part in how we live our life. And there's a point where you decide, and then you move from there. And so when I was having these conversations, it was the thing that I wanted to lean away from the most, where I was just like, I don't really want to talk about money. But at the same time, finally, my intuition was just like, you need to talk about this. Because I'm just like, this is one of the primary barriers stopping so many women, so many families from receiving the opportunities, from living in alignment with their true authentic values, from not having household products that are toxic for them, that they don't want in their, because like, no, 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 no. And so I truly believe that it is everybody's birthright to live in alignment with who they came here to be, with their values, what they want. As you said, your desires are directions. Your dreams they are divine guidance. They are directions to where and who you are here to be. It is not to be ignored. Those values are a part of that. And so I'm just like, for me, being the Virgo moon, one of my primary values is like, I want to know the best. I want the best of the best. I don't want like personally, I'm the crunchy mom. I'm just like, I want the nature school. I want the non-toxic this. I want the organic produce. I want all of that. And I'm just like, and it's just what it is. It's just like, there are some things you don't want to settle for. And I don't think we came here to settle. But how are we going to learn and create these circumstances for us to say yes to our most aligned, authentic, and abundant self? It's by allowing yourself to know, I feel like, and become a healthy and loving steward of money. And that's not the only way. Don't get me wrong. Like there's so much that goes into it, but I feel like that is a medium. That is another piece of the puzzle. Like money is a tool. Money is here to serve you. It is here to serve and amplify and carry out your directives and your dreams as if it was a loyal soldier. And so it's just like you put that to use for you and your family. And I feel like having the skills to know how to manage it, to know what to do with it, so that you can not only, when you have it, you feel like you have a plan. When you have it, you feel like you are taken care of, and it's not constantly like a paycheck to paycheck stressed out type of situation, or it's not a situation where you're almost resisting money. Because I feel like that's another thing, just like you can make more, kind of like the people who hit the lotto, and like at the same time, if they haven't dealt with the limiting beliefs, if they haven't dealt with the nervous system expansion and safety that they need to cultivate and like regulate in their bodies, if they haven't dealt with the identity shift, if they haven't dealt with the strategies to steward it well, like all of the things, if they haven't dealt with that, it's just like pouring water into a cup with holes in it. And so just like helping women, helping mothers relate to money differently, relate to themselves differently, which again goes into that recognizing that you are enough and that your dreams are divine guidance. Helping give them the tools for the women who, the moms who are ready to say yes, who know in their heart of hearts that they are not here to settle, and that they are not here to be a shell of themselves, and that they're not supposed to give up on their dreams because they become a mom. Like, no, that is all the more reason to show up for them because you have a child, not the opposite. And yet there is this weird story that's been like going around for way too long. And I do think that in the past, yes, systems capitalized on it. It served different industries, different like it it's not who we're here to be. It's not an archetype. It's not a model, a system that we need to continue to perpetuate, especially now. It's just like there are so many mediums and modalities and ways to call in and to allow in money and wealth. And that's not just money. So that's why. Um,
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful conversation, particularly for mothers. You know, as someone who's got the perspective of having lived in multiple countries on two continents, especially in America, it's the country that I've experienced that literally creates the least space for children and mothers, you know,
yep.
from like a structural perspective. Like when you look at Europe, when you look at Canada, the amount of maternity leave that they get, the subsidization for childcare, and I love how you talk about children as our invitations. And yeah, it's like every time you come up against a wall or you come up against a situation where you feel like you're being squeezed or you don't have space or there's pressure, like that's always an invitation for you to evolve, right? And I think like mothers are the ones better than anyone else who can create the new systems and the new structures to be able to support the next generation, you know, the better than they are currently being provided for. Like you are the one that has the answers for your child. And so trusting that and trusting your desires. And when it looks like you come up against a dead end, recognize that, you know, you've got all of your like Aquarian placements, like your Venus in Aquarius, your Neptune and your Uranus. It's like there's a revolution that we're not seeing, that maybe you're the person that is, you know, standing at the beginning of a trail that's leading us in a new direction. And yeah, like it's not going to be the easiest thing. It's not like someone's going to hand you a map and be like, this is the direction to what it is that you want. It's like we have to figure out what that way is. And we have to listen to ourselves. We have to be a channel for that, like evolution. You know, our children are the next evolution of humanity, and their needs and their desires, those are clues for the things that when we listen to that, when we build to support them, is going to make a better world, is going to, you know, like upgrade us and move us in a more exciting direction that we can like adapt to, that's going to create solutions to so many of the problems that we're experiencing now. And yeah, like it's freaking not easy in this culture, you know, and like all of the mindset work. This is why we have to do the mindset work when we're living in a world that's consistently sending our messages that like you are not valued, there's not space for you, there's not support for you, like you have to buy into this system that's not in alignment with your values, that causes you to oppress who you are. And this is just something that, you know, we've like been up against for centuries. So it really does require living from the inside out. And yeah, and that just like that deep self-trust and just putting one foot in front of the other. And then obviously building the skills and the tools that allow us to navigate the systems that we are currently in. But yeah, like we have to, I think that's the most empowering mindset that we can have. It's like, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with what it is that I desire. If I find myself in a position where my desires are not being fulfilled, it's an opportunity for me to look at it differently and to show up differently and to seek solutions and to trust that like we wouldn't have the desires, we wouldn't have the vision if it wasn't possible and if we weren't capable. So I think
yes.
this is such a powerful conversation.
And it's like, we're not meant to do it alone. Like
Mhm.
no woman, just like birth, you're birthing, but as a mom, as a in the mother archetype, whether you are a mom biologically, not biologically, whether you're a mom or not, we all have that archetype within us that we could tap into for guidance. And it's like, yes, your children are born through you. Your dreams are also here to be born through you. And so it's just like allowing your dreams to come through as you would a child. And like you were mentioning beforehand, you said like when you feel those walls up against you, one of the ways I like to explain it to people is that I'm like, those are contractions, just like within birth, and just like you feel the contraction, you don't fight the contraction, you surrender, you expand. And so I'm just like, when you feel those walls in your life, you do the same thing. But that's really challenging to do when our nervous system and our subconscious minds are built to follow the trend. And when the majority, especially if you live in the US, is like, hey, you put your kid in daycare, like you get back to work after 6 weeks, like tough tits, basically. Like if that's what it is, then it's really hard. It's like you're moving against like everything, and your subconscious mind, I think it like controls about 90% of like you're moving on automatic. You need to be able to regulate and anchor safety with the new expanded version of you in your life. Otherwise, you're going to keep hitting self-sabotage, and you're going to think that it's who you are, but really it's just a stress response. And so I'm just like, no, detaching your identity from that and knowing that you need, and I see a cardinal right now, which feels like there is a movement forward and that this is initiation. But either way, detaching your identity from that and knowing that you need support. And that's why I made Magic Mamas a community, because you need to be surrounded by other women who are cheering you on, doing the same thing. You need to see that this is the new norm and like be in those spaces, put yourself in those spaces, because that helps create safety in your nervous system as well. So yeah, there's so much that goes into it, but yes, it is time for a revolution, and that this old like settle or like struggle no, we're not here for that. And that was how it was in the past. It's not how it needs to be in the future. And I think it all starts with us. But we work together. It's kind of like what's the quote? Rising tides lift all ships. That's the vibe. Which feels very Venus and Aquarius, but it's
Yeah. No, I love that. And also just knowing that like the way we're going to do it is different to how it's been done. So like I love that you named nervous system regulation. I feel like that is step one. And you know, like a feminine revolution is a soft revolution. It is one that is prioritizing ease and connection and wellness and all of the things that we feel, you know, it's been challenging to experience or to express. So, yeah, often our tendency can be obviously fight, flight, freeze when we feel like we're being threatened. So it's almost it's a deconditioning process to approach a problem from a place of pleasure and ease. And yeah, obviously there's going to be the contractions and there's going to be discomfort, but it's not all going to be like that. So yeah, just continuing to have these conversations, you know, and continuing to ask and like you say, be in community and to figure out like what we want to create, because there isn't a roadmap and there isn't a model. And if we get to design a new way of doing things, we might as well freaking do it in a way that we want to do it in, you know, because that's, you know, build the world that you want to live in. So yeah. You're doing such amazing work. Thank you for bringing this conversation. And for everyone who wants to know more about you and what you're up to, where can they find you and what have you got going on?
Okay, so I have a podcast that is called The Creatrix Codes. Yes. Would recommend that. It has a lot of mindset and a lot of expanders coming on, kind of like TVN has said, like I really do like that term, expanders, but moms who are doing the thing, because as I said, you need to see that it's possible for you. So when I found out I was pregnant and I was at the cusp of like, I wasn't really at the cusp, but I was like, oh, like in my woe is me, should I do this? Should I not? And then I saw a mom who is actually going to speak on the panel and is speaking in the program Magic Mama. So get your butt in there. But I saw a mom who had 4 kids, who was my age, who was building her 6-figure business online so that she could show up and be present. And at the time, I didn't see anybody who looked like me, and who built the business after the babies. Mm-hmm. And she did. And so I needed that to keep going. And it made such a difference in my life, and it changed my life. And so I'm just like, I want to change more lives. And so I am on a mission. I am on a movement to let this be the norm for more mamas. I want to help as many mamas as possible do this. Maybe it's the Mars and Aries in me, but I'm just like, let's go. Let's fucking go. And so, yeah, that's my podcast. My website is iamsimonepatricia.com. I also am on Instagram, but I haven't been as busy on Instagram because I actually do a lot on Pinterest. But on Instagram, it's I am Simone Patricia as well. I am going to be more active on there moving forward, which is exciting. And obviously my work, my only paid program right now, Magic Mamas, which is the all-inclusive, amazing community. You get monthly lessons and trainings from experts like Sarah herself, who is going to be teaching about creating more wealth and abundance in your life through using the tool astrology and alignment and aligning with that. And then we also have that business coach that I was talking about, who's going to be teaching you how to create a sustainable income, even if you don't see yourself as a business person, like whether you want a side hustle or a full-on empire, like she's got you because she's there. She's been there through every stage. So I have experts in entrepreneurship, in money mindset, in money management, so that you have the tools to start creating the shift and the financial reality you need to give yourself the go ahead without resistance. It should never be a question about whether or not you can or can't do something because of finances. It should be more so, is this a yes for me or not? And having that support to back you up. And so you also have monthly coaching calls with me where you can have like, I go through the mindset stuff, help you regulate your nervous system, help you anchor in those new identities, call you out on your BS because everybody needs somebody to do that as lovingly, lovingly. And so yes, it is a great space. And then you have 24/7 access to community. And yeah, that's where to find me.
What amazing work. What an amazing mission. Thank you, Simone, so much for coming and joining us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please, please, please share this episode with your friends who you know will love it. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.